Welcome, everybody, to episode number 90 of the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. Number 90 seems like a huge number. Way to go, team. We hear this fairly often. Marketing doesn't work, or SEO doesn't work, or Google Ads don't work, or email marketing doesn't work. We've heard it all as marketing consultants. And as marketing consultants and agency owners, we hear these complaints fairly often from business owners who have tried their hand at certain marketing tactics, but without success. But the truth is, every marketing strategy or tactic has the potential for great success or great failure. A lot of factors go into implementing successful marketing strategies. So I thought it would be an interesting topic for us to explore why marketing fails and how to avoid falling into the common traps. So let's get started. I thought it would be kind of an interesting way to start this conversation by going around in a circle, or whatever shape we're in. Sorry, I'm thinking back to kindergarten. But before we dig into this topic, I thought it would be helpful for each of us to share a marketing failure you've heard of, from a prospect, and what your reaction was to it, and why you reacted that way. Jen, why don't you start off?
I've got two, because we work with some smaller clients and then some very, very, very large clients. So on the smaller side, a fail would have been, we've had our office manager handling our marketing when she's not busy and it's not working. And so like these are before video calls were a thing. So I'm on the phone going, no wonder. I mean, not even just with marketing, but you have someone doing a main job and then you tack on a totally different job to them to do, off the side of your desk when you have the time. And when's that going to happen, right? So that was a fail. And then on the larger side, anytime that there's like a merger or acquisition with a company, and we've been working on both sides of it, both the acquirer and the acquiree, I guess. And I say the fail there is there's no debriefing from the marketing team, either outgoing or coming in, because there's just a lot of knowledge there. Of course, this gets into the area where there's, bad feelings and fear about layoffs and whatnot, but no transfer of like, here's what we were doing, best practices, anything that would give the new team a way to get going. Or if some of the old team is transitioning to the newer team, any way to like bring what they know, kind of their either their best practices, or they're in the trenches, or the stuff that they already know. So it's I see that as a failure on the larger side of enterprise.
Yeah, lost intelligence, corporate intelligence, then, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ken?
I want to hear what Paul has to say first.
Okay, what about you, Paul?
Well, wasn't expecting that. No, I think it's more, anything can fail if you're not willing to invest what's necessary. And I think we see that as much as anything is that, well, I want an SEO package, but I only have $200 a month. Well, guess what? You're not going to get much. So to me, it's not necessarily, I mean, yes, sure, any specific thing can fail, but a lot of times I think it comes down to maybe they've been burned in the past and they don't want to, or they're afraid to invest any amount of money, or maybe they just don't have it. I know we've talked in the past that a lot of times marketing is kind of an afterthought. They kind of put everything else into place and they're like, oh yeah, we need to market. So where can we scrounge up a few $100s for a marketing plan? And that's a recipe for disaster right there.
All right, I'm ready to go now.
Okay, Ken's thought about it. He's heard what Paul said. Jump in, Ken.
Well, I didn't want to steal Paul's thunder because I thought for sure he was going to talk about Google Ads.
That's probably later.
Okay. Well, what drives me nuts? I mean, I've really got three that I hear on a regular basis. So the first is I've tried Google Ads and it didn't work. And then you dig down into that a little bit and it's like, oh, well, I got this free $100 or $125 thing when I signed up for my Google My Business. So I launched some ads and I didn't get a single lead, or the phone calls I got were horrible. That is not giving Google Ads a try. Google Ads is going to require a 3-month program minimum and a proper investment level so that you can actually get the data that you need to make a good decision. So that drives me nuts. But another simple one I hear is with text message marketing. A lot of businesses say, yeah, I've tried that before. It didn't really work for us. It's because they used the crappy point of sale system that came with their, or the text system that came with their point of sale system. And they didn't think about the actual texts that they needed to send, so that's a problem. And then the third thing is, oh yeah, I'll take care of writing the blogs or the service pages myself. And that just never happens. And if it does, they're not ready for SEO. So those are the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just to add to that, you guys have covered this in a couple different ways, but the great ambitions starting and then fizzling out, see that all the time with blog posting and any kind of content development. Yeah. But even you were talking about Google Ads. One of the worst failures I've seen in Google Ads is a company that we ended up taking on as a client. They had already been paying for Google Ads for years with someone. They had like moderate success with it. But when we were able to get into the back end of Google Ads and start to look at what worked and what didn't, we actually were able to determine that they were spending a lot of money driving ads and clicks to pages that didn't exist anymore because their ad manager was not keeping up to date with what was happening on their website and landing page development and stuff like that. The other one I thought worth sharing was I've seen this a couple times now where somebody invests in a website. They say it's SEO optimized. The company, in order to retain the client long term, says we'll give you free SEO for a year. And of course, depending how deep your understanding of SEO is, that sounds like a wonderful prospect. But what we've actually found, again, doing audits for these clients, is that nothing was done. Like absolute, you got what you paid for. You paid zero, you got zero. And the worst part of that is the opportunity cost, right? All those leads you could have been getting, you relinquished to your competitors.
Yeah.
Ian, that was interesting what you said about the pages no longer existing, because if you're running a Google Ads campaign and you have dedicated landing pages, no one should touch them. Why would they disappear? Why would anything change? Unless if they redid the website.
The landing page company.
Yeah, if the whole link structure changed, that would do it. But yeah, if your Google Ads team is setting up landing pages specifically for ads that they're driving ads to, that shouldn't change.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Paul. It was a miss between the internal marketing manager of the company and the external Google Ads people. Right. The internal guy discontinued the subscription to the landing page software.
That'll do it.
Yeah, yep. And it had been going on for a long time. Jen, why do you think marketing failures happen?
I think they happen because, well, for a number of reasons. And I was, I was thinking a lot about, well, I prepare for all our podcasts, but I was thinking a lot about this one. And what I mean by that is, it's easy to blame the client. It's easy to say, oh, the client, it's just a shiny object. We got to go do this. We got to do this. And that could be part of it. But I would say all of us have some very, very good clients and very, very smart clients and very great clients. And even within that group, there may be some shiny object syndrome within that, great, smart, trusted group of clients that we serve. So why is that? And I got to thinking about it a lot more. And I mean, for us as consultants, marketing, I mean, it's just, like every week there's something new to either pay attention to and then ignore. And, there's all kinds of changes going on and whatnot. And I was just thinking from a business owner point of view, it must be so overwhelming that to do anything is the best thing that they can start to do. And if you think about it in a way, like they have a business to run, they're not going to have enough time or energy, or they could get overwhelmed by the amount of marketing information they feel they have to know. So to just start to do something, they just feel like, well, in other areas of my business, we just take a step forward and we just keep going. So we'll do the same for marketing. It's like, we'll just take it the step and keep it going. But I think why they fail is so lack of thought, for sure, about that, lack of strategy, lack of understanding how all of marketing these days really has to be all very connected and supported. All the elements that you're working on do have to be involved that way, unless you're very small, very niche, that kind of thing. Of course, there's always exceptions. I also think too, somewhat like, and I'm not trying to compare marketing to like, beautiful, famous art, but it's the kind of thing that most people, unless you're in marketing, you only see the end result, right? You only see the ad or the campaign or the success of the business. And then, you hear about so-and-so just doing LinkedIn ads and, their business doubled overnight. So you get that nonsense as well. And only seeing or hearing the end result, which may or may not be correct, and it may or may not be the whole story about whatever else they were doing. It's easy to just really go for a point solution. So I think those are some of the reasons why there are so many marketing fails out there. So
no, those are great answers. Anyone else want to jump in on that one?
Well,
time's up.
I think, from my perspective, I try to diagnose what the biggest problems are, what the biggest and identify what the biggest opportunities are, and and make sure that whatever marketing investment is being made is aligned with that. And that doesn't just happen by chance. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I don't claim to have any unique insight, but special from most other people, but I do think some experience is helpful. A knowledge of all of the solutions that are available across the broad spectrum of marketing, so that which levers you can pull that'll actually amplify and work together as opposed to fight each other. I think is a really important thing. So, it all comes down to marketing strategy, whether it's explicit or internally created.
I think also too, some of the ways that certain marketing, let's just call them the tactics, are either sold or asked for. So let me pick on social media. So if a business owner is saying, we're just going to post some content out there, we'll be regular, and we'll just, talk about what it is that we do. It'll be on brand, blah, blah, blah. And then they have this expectation that there'll be this windfall of activity from their social media posting to their website that they can convert into sales then. So they may be thinking like, I'll just post continuously. I heard about that. And then, the inquiries will come. And what they're not asking for, they're not seeing that, okay, there's that. But we have to set you up a certain way. And if you want that much attention, there's going to be more attention required to put a real strategy together. And then if you want them to come back to your website, is your website able to have a form to someone will fill out? Is someone manning the phones that can take all these, this influx of, business that's coming your way? So I think too, it's either, don't know what you don't know, or assume the ask of, let's do Facebook ads, let's do this trade show, automatically means this end result that they never actually walk through to figure out how are we actually going to get the end result I want from me asking for this certain tactic.
Yeah. Expectation setting, right? Or having realistic expectations of what one piece, first of all, what an integrated approach can do, but then what
Yeah.
one little part of that integrated approach can accomplish is, yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, correct.
One of the other things that kind of popped into my mind while you were talking, Jen, was maybe we make it look too easy. We give them the end result. I'm serious about this, like, because if you guys are like me, you try not to overcomplicate it for your clients. You try to make it very, very simple and very easy. So, they, at the beginning, when you're selling your services, certainly you give them the full gamut of, here's everything we're going to be doing for you, because you're trying to competitively position yourself against competitors, right? But then once it's going, you try to keep it super simple for the clients. And maybe sometimes we do ourselves a disservice and the client a disservice in a way, because if they're going to jump ship to go after something else, a shiny object, maybe it's because we're not sometimes or periodically saying, like, here's the whole gamut of everything we're doing for you, and it's really complicated, but that's why you hired us to do it, right? So
that's so very interesting. We're dealing with a certain situation in that right now, where we have said, okay, if all these things are what you want, here's all the inputs we need from you on, like, either your approvals or your insight or answering these questions. And yeah, it became overwhelming, and it's it hasn't gone super well. Let me just be honest, right? With the overwhelm, and it's a balancing act, because if we are hired to be the marketing department to take all that hassle away from you and give you the results, then yeah, part of that is we have to shield you from the minutia of the the 1,000 paper cuts every day, right? But then on the other hand, quite seriously, unless we have approval to do everything on our own the way we see fit that will support your business, we do need your approvals and your input and whatnot. So I think you have a real point there for sure. I don't know how to solve for that though, right? Because you want to take the pain away. That's why you're hired. But on the other hand, it's just like, man, if you knew all what was going on.
we need a when I was in where's Starbucks from? Please remind me.
Oh, Seattle.
When I was in Seattle on business, I went to the Starbucks. I think it's called a roastery or something, but it's like basically a coffee amusement park inside this place. It's incredible. But what's just something you were saying there reminded me of it, because what it does is it pulls the curtain apart and shows you how they choose the beans, ship the beans, grow the beans, prepare the beans, roast, everything. And then all of the myriad of options you have to roast or to brew coffee in different ways. And it was kind of like, every day when I have my cup of coffee, it's a super simple thing, right? It's coffee and it's wonderful. But when they pulled the curtain apart and showed me kind of what goes into making a great cup of coffee, it's like, wow, that's really cool. So maybe that's what we need. We need a marketing roastery,
Yeah, or I'm envisioning a big, like not an infographic to make it simple, but like a big infographic to be like, all right, treat your marketing team well, because this is all what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Just in case you're curious, here's everything going on.
Yeah, here's everything going on today. So could you answer my one question, please?
Ken, the next question is for you. What is the real cost of marketing failures?
Well, I think ultimately it's, you've got to put a value to missed opportunity. So, whether you decide not to act now, so it's like, okay, let's just say, right now for a lot of the trades, this is getting into their super busy time of the year. Let's say that they're like, I just came off of a slow winter season. My business always dips. I don't want to do anything right now. So they postpone their marketing and maybe reevaluate it later. Well, you're missing all of the potential business that you could have and should have been getting for that time. So you really need to take time to put a cost of what is the average value of every deal that you get. What is your likely close rate? If when somebody contacts you from your website historically, what's the percentage of people that you actually get to hire you to do those jobs? What kind of repeat business could you have gotten or referrals from that client base? And you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't add all that money up and really think about it. And I think a lot of people are like, man, I can't afford $1,500, $2,500, $3,500, $4,500 a month for marketing. But you probably can't afford not to either, because the world is not static. Businesses are investing more and more in online marketing. The costs of online marketing are increasing. Ad spend costs are increasing. It's getting more competitive, and the prices are both going up. So the longer you wait, the steeper the hill is going to be for you to climb. And in the meantime, your competitors who are making those investments could be leapfrogging you. And so you really do need to calculate and put a price to it, because there is a price to inaction or under action. So if you go the cheap route and you hire somebody who gives you an SEO program for $500 a month, you're not going to make very much progress. They may do some things. They may help incrementally with, a keyword phrase here or there, a service here or there, or something like that. But it's undervaluing the potential that's there. And I realize everybody has to manage their money and their budgets. Right now, if that's a concern to you and you have the ability to get a business loan, I think you probably should go get a business loan, because rates are going to go up very quickly. And so now is the best time to lock in that, even if you're not going to use it yet, get it approved so that you have access to that capital when you need it to make the investments. You lose the opportunity for people to start to build up that name recognition. And for a lot of businesses, that may not be the biggest thing, but every little bit helps. So there's just a lot of missed things, and ultimately, if you invest in bad marketing, it potentially can hurt your reputation. And so I think you need to, because you might wind up getting some bad reviews as a result, because there's maybe a misalignment between the promise of what you guys say you could deliver through your marketing versus what you actually can deliver, or just yeah. I mean, there's a lot there, but it drives me nuts, because a lot of people leave so much money on the table that could have been theirs and should have been theirs.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Chinese proverb we've also heard about. When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Right now, right? And I use that a lot when I'm talking to people about, especially with SEO, because SEO takes time to flourish. But yeah, one of the things you said too, it just, we as businesses do not exist in a bubble. I've had many clients say, oh, I don't need to worry about the competition. Yes, you do, because they can actually, if they're investing regularly in the right kind of marketing, they can become an entrenched competitor, and essentially you're relinquishing prospective customers or patients or whatever clients to them. And absolutely no one I know who is a business owner wants to relinquish willingly customers to their competitors.
Yeah. Well, if you're not doing enough marketing to stay top of mind, and staying in regular enough contact with your customers, clients, patients, whatever you might happen to call those folks, there's an easy chance you can slip in and take that customer away from you, even if you have strong loyalty. Because again, look, people are busy. Their job is not to remember, oh, this is the best roofing company I've ever worked with. They may remember it, they may not, depending on all of the other things that are going on in their life. Then you throw in the competition and how aggressive they are, and what they're doing in their marketing and their messaging. You're just, when you don't have good marketing, you're creating a void, and rarely is that void going to be filled with what you want it to be filled with. It's usually going to be the exact opposite. I mean, it's messaging 101. I mean, when you don't control the conversation and you let somebody else control it, you're usually not going to be happy with the outcome. And the cost of marketing failures can lead very much to that.
Yeah.
Even if it's not marketing, there's no action that's creating the void.
Yeah.
And Ian, what you said about the business says I don't have to worry about my competition. Well, yeah, because your competition may be doing things, and if they're doing things and you're not, it takes overwhelming firepower to dislodge an entrenched enemy. And if your competition gets that foothold and they're ranking number one for the important keywords and they're in the 3-pack and they're running ads, and now you come along 5 years later, and what is it going to take to knock them out of that top spot? You might be looking at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month program to do that, because they've got this head start on you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We've got some customers who we've been working with for years who are the entrenched competitor because they've been doing the right things for a long time, right? And so we as their marketing team, we keep an eye on what the competition is doing. And certainly during COVID, we saw a lot of energy from the competitors being placed in their SEO, in digital marketing. And so we see movement now, like they're making progress. But as the entrenched leader, we are very hard to dislodge because we're not standing still either, right? And we're keeping tabs on what they're doing. And if by any chance they actually are doing something better than we're doing for our customer, we're looking at it and going, oh, that's a good thing. We should be doing that too. And we just add it to our portfolio of what we're doing for the client. And again, we continue to go higher rather than get displaced. So, yeah. Paul, do you find that there are specific areas of marketing that have higher failure rates from your perception?
Yes. Oh, you want me to expand on that?
You want to elaborate on that?
What a technical answer.
But no, we actually touched on this a little bit earlier when we talk about expectations and defining what is what. So let me pick on banner ads. If you're running banner ads, if your expectation is conversions and you're running banner ads, that's a disconnect. That's not what banner ads are for. Banner ads are for awareness. And you have a very similar thing with social media. Pretty much any social media, yes, you may get some conversions from social. Well, you will get some conversions from social media, but it's going to be very low because it's really more about awareness. It's not intent oriented like some type of pay-per-click program is intent oriented. At least that's the idea. And then you have to define what is a conversion. So if you're running banner ads, a conversion is someone going to your website. And if you look in the Google Ads world, there's different types of conversions. A conversion can be someone signing up to get your newsletter. That's a conversion. So in Google's world, if someone clicks on an ad and goes to your landing page, that's a conversion in the sense that the ad worked. It's not necessarily a conversion in the sense that they followed through, made a phone call, or filled out a form. That's what Google would call a web conversion. It's not an ad conversion, because the ad conversion was they clicked on the ad and went to your landing page. The ad worked. It did what the ad was supposed to do. So you have to define what these different things are and set proper expectations. Same thing with, and Ken touched on this about blogging the customers. Well, I can do this. Well, maybe you can, but you're not going to because you're busy. Everybody's busy. And then when you write that blog post, do you build in the proper SEO signals for Google or for any search engine for that matter? And then are you going to, and this is the biggest thing with content marketing, I think that we see is that, money's a finite resource, and you really need to have content for every stage of that customer journey. And that can become cost prohibitive if you have more than one product or service. If you're just dealing with one service, you might have a better chance of doing that. If you have 5 or 6 services, and now you need content for every stage of that customer journey, that's a lot of content. That's a huge amount of content. And that's going to take a lot of money or a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the, I think just by your explanation of conversions and goals and pay-per-click, I think that's a prime example of why people should hire an expert to do that kind of stuff. Because if those aren't set up right, even the data that Google's feeding you could be misleading, right? Like, because truly the business doesn't care if really they want to see, okay, this is the number of clicks the ad got, because that's a form of a metric that's important. But truly what they care about is, I want form fills and phone calls and customers interacting with me, potential prospects, right? And so for a lot of our customers, we massage those conversions so that they fit with what the customer wants to know. But we also look at all the other data, which I'm sure you guys do as well, right? Like it's part of what you do as their partner in this.
Well, even if it's set up correctly, the data Google gives you is confusing, because the data coming out, if you import goals from analytics into AdWords, that's a different attribution model than within Google Ads itself. Try explaining that to the customer.
Well, the other thing too is, a lot of people try to make the linear progression from a click on a Google ad to a form conversion. And it's just not that simple. Google Ads play a tremendous role in assisted conversions.
Absolutely.
They may not be the reason people fill out a form or make that phone call. Certain industries, absolutely. I mean, water damage restoration, sure. Those are going to be phone calls, and they're almost going to be immediate. But any big ticket purchase, James Hardy siding, for example, interior painting. I mean, even something like that, they're not necessarily going to make a decision the first time they go to your website. And if they didn't know about your business before, they may very well find out about you because of a Google ad. Now you've got them on the website. Now, what's great about it is when you go back and you do your search and you're still, in that shopping mode, looking to see who are you going to hire and all that, you're going to remember that company, and Google actually helps you remember that company because the hyperlink changes colors. And so it says, oh yeah, I've been to this website before. And at that point, then people may be ready to say, okay, yeah, I want these people to come out and give me an estimate. So you can't just draw that line and judge Google Ads, literally on that direct performance. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And that's not understanding that can be a failure and pulling the plug too early.
Yeah, there's perfect data, and then there's directional data, right? Yeah. And directional data is what you're talking about, where sometimes it can at least give you a high level view of, okay, at least we understand we're getting a lot of leads from Google Ads, because that might be like, you can track sometimes whether it's their first response or their first visit, that kind of stuff. But yeah, and there's a cost to everything, right? The deeper you go into the data, the more costly it is, because somebody has to do that data mining.
Right.
Yeah, those are great points, guys. Jen, are you able to share an example of a business that came to you, displayed resistance to your plan? Nobody wants that, but we've all experienced it. But eventually they bought into your plan, and you provided great results.
Yes, I do. But instead of talking about a whole plan, I'm going to talk about like one specific tactic that was part of a big plan that got resistance, and then got what do you say it afterwards? Like before you say "I told you so," what is that called? The accolades or reverse accolades or whatever. So, anyways, let me tell you the story. And this is a tactic that I'm just thinking here. I chose this because everyone listening could do this tactic as well. So it doesn't require a huge amount of dollars to do it. So what it is so the resistance we had. So we had this client. They were in the IT, I guess, IT services space, but on a large scale. So setting up the inner workings of IT for retail stores. So big job, big budgets, long sales cycle, complex, lots of buyers, lots of influencers. So you had all that.
Lots of decision makers too, probably.
Lots of decision makers. Yeah. And to be serious, lots of competition, even though there wouldn't be 50 other competitors, but a handful of a short list of 3 or 4. That's enough. Okay, so the idea was we were working a lot with the executive VP of sales, and we had gotten him over the hump of blogging. So we were blogging for him, obviously, but obviously his point of view and whatnot. And we pitched him the idea of doing something called we call it executive profile raising. Essentially, what you're doing is you're blogging on LinkedIn. At the time of this recording, LinkedIn calls it LinkedIn articles. So this is not posting a blog. This would be those articles that come out when you click on the person's profile, and it's a full copywriting, like they are blogging on LinkedIn. So what our idea was, we'll take the blog that you wrote on your website and we'll repurpose that on LinkedIn under your profile. What that will do for you is it will alert folks within your LinkedIn network that you have a post up. They'll be able to come and read it. And as well, it gets you in front of people that already know, like, trust you as part of your personal network, as part of your professional network, and can start to warm up some of those relationships. And I said, as you are one of the lead people that go in to do the pitches for, securing the sale, to have folks know a little bit more about you, who you are, what you stand for, what you actually know before they're, meeting you for the first or second time in a sales pitch, that can do wonders to warm up your impressions and whatnot. Huge resistance. I don't know. I got this far without LinkedIn. What I need, you know what I mean? Like, but graciously said, yeah, let's give it a try. So we did that, and we did that run for it was probably about 6 months until I heard this comment back from him. And so 6 months, I believe they were on 2 or 3 blogs per month. So you think about that, 2 or 3 of these LinkedIn posts per month were coming out under his name and whatnot. And he did say on a call, he's like, I went into one of my first meetings with this big client the other week, and they said, hey, we know about you. We've been reading your articles on LinkedIn. And he said, first of all, it was, what do you call it? It was flattering, of course. And he said the second thing was, he was just like, he felt like the initial conversation and that meeting was so much more warmer and so much more further ahead because they felt like they were dealing with someone who they already kind of knew his thought process on the types of things that they were about to consider buying. So that is my war story on that tactic. So so we're talking executive level. We're talking wasn't seriously active on LinkedIn previously. We're talking obviously made it to probably the upper or almost the peak level of his career without doing anything like that. Started to implement this kind of tactic consistently. So 6 months, right? It wasn't post once and all of a sudden you're a superstar, but did see the results, and it was able to help with the business.
I love that. I love that it ended up opening the doors to potentially a large deal, because I assume they do large deals. So.
Yes, it's all large deals that they do.
Which would more than pay, exactly. Much more than pay for the work that was done.
Yes, I should have asked for a raise. Should be like percentage deal on everyone. I'm just kidding. So, but no, I mean, it was so 2 things, of course, ego wise, you're validated and all that. But I mean, the whole point of us doing this work with our clients is to improve their business, help them along somehow. Right. So we knew it was going to work. He trusted, he showed up and did it, and we got it posted and whatnot, and was behind us, I guess, a little begrudgingly, but he's just, and to see that it worked, to see that the client was happy, to see that the client could see and now believe, and now was like, okay, when's my next blog? Like that, getting I guess getting that kind of energy and approval on your side to help them with their own business. I mean, that's amazing, right? That was the reward, to be quite honest.
Yeah, cool.
That's very cool. Ken, what are some ways that business owners can avoid marketing failures?
So I think one thing is, don't assume that social media is going to do everything for you. I think a lot of people, or any silver bullet. I like to pick on social media because it's the one thing that, we come across all the time. People are like, oh, but this company came along, said they can generate all these leads by doing this, this, and this on Facebook. And it's like, for a water restoration company? Okay. Nobody does a search for emergency service water damage repair on Facebook, but go for it. If you feel strongly for it. So don't assume that a 1-point solution vendor is going to give you the best answer. They're going to sell you what's good for them. They may have really good salespeople. They may tell a good story. They may have great marketing materials themselves. But, I think it's pretty risky to go with a one-dimensional marketing strategy in this day and age. Now, if you have a limited budget, sure, you're going to have to make some choices, and maybe initially, as you're bootstrapping your business and growing it, you may have to invest in more of a point solution here or a point solution there. But, you really need to talk, and you need to understand, is the person that you're talking with, are they a salesperson, or are they really grounded in marketing strategy or technical expertise in the marketing solutions, where they really understand what it does, how it works, and what the benefits are? So, our good friend Ray Perry talks about, there are a lot of people who sell marketing. I mean, everybody who sells you, the ability to print on your receipt, to say, hey, go leave me a Google review whenever that somebody pays and they get the cash, the receipt for that payment, they can claim that they're marketing. So there are a lot of tool vendors out there, but there's really, the difference is, I think you need to look for somebody who understands the strategy and has not just a single tool in their toolkit, but really a whole arsenal of things. And it may not be that they do all of the work, but they have the community, the relationships, much like what we all do. We work with a team of people or with each other to help build and craft the right solution for our clients. And it's not, these are, I mean, there may be some pre-canned elements of it, but every one of these is custom designed to fit the needs of our customers. And I think you need to look for that and ask for that and try to find exploratory questions that help you understand that. And if you're a bigger company and you have a bigger marketing investment, we talk about this, doing a total online presence audit or doing a marketing strategy first engagement, doing some tri-level investment with a company to help you both determine, are you guys going to be good fits to work together, is not out of the question. And then the last thing I would say is, if you really feel like there's a lot at stake for you, bring in an independent advisor. Bring in a third party that, isn't too closely tied to your personal situation about the business, and let them help you make a good marketing decision. And find out who that trusted advisor is. It could be another marketing company who vets the marketing company that you want to hire, that maybe doesn't do what you're looking to have done, but they still know enough to know, the right questions to ask, or the right references to check and things like that. But I think you need to do some due diligence, and don't make a snap decision just because you see a really pretty dashboard that makes everything look really cool, because honestly, you're never going to go check it. As a business owner, you're just not going to check it. There are maybe 10, 20% of you will, but most people never, ever look at that stuff. So don't be fooled by pretty dashboards. And honestly, I say that because that's one of the reasons why we lose deals, is because we don't have the shiniest, prettiest, coolest little looking report or a reporting dashboard we're really pragmatic. We focus on the activities and the results. We don't focus on glitz.
You need primary color charts, Ken.
I
That
guess.
just, we're all trained. Primary colors, they work
Yeah.
really well.
So,
no, that's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. You were talking about strategy. I was gonna say, without a doubt, if you develop your strategic marketing plan first, that will reduce your failures tremendously. Unless the one caveat I would say to that is, I've seen people that have hired someone to do strategy, but the person actually doesn't do any implementation, and that type of strategy it can actually get you on the wrong path to success, because if they don't know how to implement, like if they don't have the experience of saying, oh, like, yeah, pay-per-click, you got to do pay-per-click, but what kind, like, there's so many elements involved that a good strategic plan will really give you the roadmap for the implementation itself, not just a big, here's pie in the sky kind of thinking.
yeah, that's a great point. There are a lot of business coaches and advisors. Some are great. Some have a formula that they are going to pitch because that's the formula that they've been trained on and that they know. They've never implemented a damn thing. They don't know how it works on the back end. They don't know how easy it is to implement. They don't even know if it's the right thing for that business or that niche. But it comes out of a formula that they got through their training. And look, I'm a business coach as well. And I do that as much as anything just because I want to have a bigger picture and a broader perspective so that I can try to make the best possible decisions that I can for my clients. And so for me, maybe it's just the way I'm wired, but I look at things from a very big picture perspective first and try to figure out what makes sense, and then kind of drill it down and then dial it in as appropriate. Even if we're selling a point solution, which we occasionally do, like a text message marketing system, it still is grounded in intelligent thinking and making sure I'm not going to sell you a text message marketing system if it's not the right investment for your business. I'm not going to do it. There will be people who are willing to do that, but for me, I look at it, even if you don't have the money to pay me to do a full-blown strategy, you can still hire people who are going to use strategic thinking to implement the right set of solutions for you.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to look for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, great point. Paul, one of the ways to make sure that you don't end up wasting a lot of money and that you don't have a marketing failure is to monitor the health of your marketing. How can a business do that? How can they monitor the health of their marketing to ensure it's not failing?
You track everything. And what I mean by that is, we've had clients that they just come out of the blue and say, oh, we decided to put this billboard up. It's like, okay, what phone number did you use? Did you use a call tracking number? So if you used your regular business phone number, unless you ask them and they remember, how do you know where that came from? So even if you're doing a postcard or some kind of offline advertising, you should track that with call tracking numbers, a dedicated landing page, if you put a URL in there, so you know where that traffic came from. Because if you do a postcard campaign and you don't have tracking URLs and tracking numbers, you don't know if it worked or not.
Yeah.
Let's say you do a postcard campaign and you get an increase in business. Well, did it come from that, or was it coincidental? You don't know. And same thing with your website. You should be using call tracking numbers. Your pay-per-click, you should be using call tracking numbers, dedicated URLs for these things. And that takes some time and effort to put in place. It takes some money to put that in place. But if you don't do it, you don't know what works and what doesn't. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is you have to track these things, because without that, there's no way of knowing if something worked or did not work.
Yeah. Yeah. I one of the things you said there reminds me, like, as businesses, you need to hold us, your marketing consultants, agencies, whatever you're hiring to do your marketing, hold them accountable and make sure that you come to an agreement on these are the key performance indicators or the key metrics that matter most to me. Otherwise, you can have these expectations from your marketer where they think they're doing stellar. Oh, we got this many clicks. Oh, we achieved this. But if you make your expectations very clear that, okay, clicks are important, yes, because they're part of the buyer's journey, but I don't really care about those. I care about form fills and phone calls. Then you have to pay pennies on the dollar to set up call tracking or whatever, right? It's such a good, valuable point you said there, Paul.
And without clicks, you're not going to have form fills.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's the top. That goes back to the whole top of the funnel. We've talked about it numerous times about the buyer journey, and it starts with awareness. People have to know you exist. If they don't know you exist, nothing's going to happen.
Yep. Well, to wrap things up, this has been a fantastic discussion, guys. I've appreciated this. I hope our listeners have as well. To wrap things up, I thought it would be helpful to kind of go around again and just for each of us to have the opportunity to share some sage advice or encouragement to business owners to help them avoid marketing fails and make sure they're on the best path possible when they hire a marketer. Ken, why don't you start?
All right. So I would say don't fall into analysis paralysis. The world of online marketing is complicated. You may get frustrated and say, gosh, I don't know if I should do social media, or I should do search engine optimization, or I should be doing Google ads, or I should be doing a billboard or postcards. You need to think it through, but it's important to do stuff and just get started with doing some marketing. You need to get results to make better decisions, and that's where, we always try to guide everybody to help make the best initial set of investments to get the best initial set of results so that we can continue to optimize a program for somebody. But, inaction is the worst thing that you could do, with the exception of really, really bad messaging in your marketing. So it's important to get started, and it's important to, if you need to go read some business books and that gives you the confidence to get started, if you need to hire a marketing consultant, but don't do nothing. That's not a good thing. Marketing should be one of the most important, I think it is arguably one of the most important systems you should have for your business. And it needs to be a system. And a system doesn't just happen. It requires design to be able to make a system work. And so, but that's not to say that you can't grow into the system. Just get started.
Cool. Paul, what about you? Sage advice or encouragement for business owners?
Well, kind of expanding on what Ken said. Hope I don't get in trouble here. Uh-oh. Ken had a meeting with a business.
Expanding or contradicting?
No. Expanding a little bit. He had a conversation with a business. Like, it was earlier this week or late last week. They don't even have a website. This day and age, they don't even have a website. So this goes back to truly throwing mud on the wall in the beginning to see what stick, because if you have no website, no marketing plan, no data, you're starting with nothing. So you're going to have to try some things. It goes back to, paralysis. You're going to have to try some things. I mean, sure, we have some ideas. We've dealt with this industry before, so we have some ideas about what works and what doesn't work. But still, you're basically starting with nothing. And what he said about, analysis paralysis, that the greatest thing about digital marketing is that anything and everything can be tracked. The worst thing about digital marketing is that anything and everything can be tracked. So,
yeah, not so much thanks to Apple.
What's that?
Never mind.
Oh, but yeah, you do have to have that initial data set. And if you're starting with nothing, you have to develop it by doing something. And some of those things aren't going to work, but you don't know that until you try.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
that's just what you said there too, is another reason why it's valuable to have an experienced strategic thinking marketer in your back pocket, because
Exactly.
they can bring their experience and best practices to the table. Because there are some I think everybody on this call would say, like, we have slam dunks for customers. Like, we know, and all things being equal, unless there's something we don't know about the business, like they're really bad at what they do, or something we can't control, all things being equal, we know exactly what we would do first, because we know it will be successful. And unfortunately, a business owner that's dabbling in marketing or trying to get caught up to speed will not have that information. So it's helpful to partner with an experienced person. Sorry, you were going to say, Ken?
Oh no, pretty much what you just said, actually.
Okay. Sorry, I
if
didn't mean to
you can
take
hire,
the word.
if you hire somebody who already has expertise, in crafting a solution for the type of business you have, that can be a really great jumpstart.
Yeah, speed to market. Yeah. Jen, what about you?
I want to piggyback off of what Ken said at first about the marketing system. And if any of the listeners are just thinking like, what is a marketing system? Oh my God, something else to think about. Virtually every business has a payroll system, and your system works like your folks get paid every 2 weeks, every month, whatever system you're on. And that happens. You don't all of a sudden pay every 2 days, and then every 2 months, and then every 6 months, and then turn it off for a while, right? Like, that's a system that has to be implemented, thought about, and work. So if you understand that kind of thing, that kind of system, it's the very same for your marketing. So it's got to be continuous. It's got to be fed. It's got to be watered. It's got to go. And then that's a supporting element for your business. So you kind of already know what he's talking about. So just think about that. Oh, payroll, right? It's consistent. Okay, my marketing has to be consistent. Okay, you're 90% there. The sage advice I would give is I would say with marketing being confusing and overwhelming to a lot of folks that aren't in it, and some of us in it, it feels confusing and overwhelming sometimes too. If you could just like slow it down and answer the question: if my marketing was working, this would happen. Either we would be thought of as better than our competitors. We would have the phone ringing for 100 inquiries every day. Or if you can finish that sentence with what you actually want to happen for your business, that can really help you when you go to get some marketing advice or hire a marketing consultant, because then they are clear of like, oh, okay, is it awareness? Oh, okay, do you need to beat your competition? Okay, do you need to make the phone ring? Whatever it is for you, then they can take that and back into working out a good strategy and implement that to help that happen for you. And in that way, you're going to feel like my marketing is working, because what I think it'll do for me, or what I want it to be done, is has been formulated to get me that result. So just think about it. What is it that you want your marketing to do for you? And that'll clear up a lot of things as you go looking for marketing help.
I love that. Thinking about your future state. That's very
marketing?
Powerful.
That's marketing. Yeah.
Marketing is about transformation.
Yeah.
Boom. And there is no better way to end this conversation today than with transformation. So thank you, guides. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today for this marketing topic. If it has been helpful to you, please share the wealth with others by telling them about this podcast. And we hope to see you next week.